Matthias made it?
Alright, so I got another one for y'all. So this one's gonna be a little bit different. Originally, I was gonna do this one from scratch and build it straight out, but I wanted to make sure like I caught the vibe. And so like on the next one, because I'll do another video like this. Well, actually, I'll do a couple like this because it's something I want to try. Go back to like my original like way of doing stuff, because before I became like the Melody Jedi or whatever, I used to sample a lot. And so that was just something I really enjoyed, because like I enjoy like watching like old Kanye videos, you know what I'm saying, and him on the ASR and stuff like that. So we'll talk about that later, you know what I'm saying, samples, and we'll talk about like sample choicing and all that different stuff in a minute. But let's preview it first.
Matthias made it?
Alright, so this song almost gives me or beat gives me that vibe from that song with Chief Keef and Mac Miller. I can't think of the name of it right now, but it's Fado. But yeah, so with something like this, you know, we're clocking in at 118, so you know it's really laid back, simple. I mean, you see it's just two sample chops and some drums, like. So when trying to convey a vibe like this while keeping it simple, almost as if something as like a J. Cole approach, or heck, even sometimes a Young Thug approach, this is what one of their sessions will look like. It'll just be the sample and then the drums, because you know they pull samples from like Q Beats and all them and whatnot. So what I did was I found the sample, threw it in Serato, then checked for the tempo, then got 118. So basically, when finding samples, I'll do a video on it, but I usually just type in like soul sample packs, and usually there are a whole bunch of ones of people who've already like went and did some digging and just chopped them up into the like 8-bar loops or whatever for you. And like they'll sometimes they might have the tempo, they might not, but you know, just tempo sync it up, and then you get what your tempo of the beat will be. Because if you think about it, back in the day with like the ASR10 sampling, once they found the tempo of the sample, that was the tempo of the beat, because they didn't have that much time, because they only had so much memory, so much space to even convey the idea. So with this, when I think about finding samples, I think about like if good samples, not no whack sample, right? I think about like what type of music was like your grandma listening to, like what you find on like her cassette tapes, like her CDs laying around, or who are the singers that she talk about. She talk about like the Aretha Franklins, the Anita Bakers, you know what I'm saying, like stuff along that lines. You want a good sample, something that's sampleable, right? So on this one, just did a little bit of processing. I threw a guitar rig preset on here. If it'll open, just like, you know what I'm saying, a little extra. Actually, that's like on a low. You don't want to use too much of that. RC20, of course, live by it. And then an EQ for the filter that's automated in there, and just cut out some of the lows, and that was pretty much it. It's actually pretty straightforward. A lot of it really comes into play in the drum work. So keeping, you know, a simple sample, and then you letting the drums do your talking, like in the arrangement and what have you. So this is like my go-to arrangement, right? So drums can do more talking when you have a good sample. You don't have to worry about as many like melodic change ups. So this sample here, at the start I got it in reverse, but it's like nice and textured. Got some vocals in there. So vocals are always good to have in your beats, because like you hear the way it's pitched up, and usually that's something that people will chop, which is what drew my attention, the vocals, because I was able to chop those. So let's talk about the drums, right? So we got a simple, let's look at the kit first. We got a simple, kick pattern, which I copied up to the 808, right? So it's on the 1, on the 4, you know what I'm saying? So pause the, mute that. Snare on the 3. Then right here, we got the basic straight hi-hats with some velocity change-ups. So when you have those 3 elements, right, this is like where you can really like play with like, rolls and stuff, like outside of having a straight hi-hat, right? So right here, I actually have another snare, right? So let's bring these 2 tracks up, right? Not that hi-hat, this one. And that snare. Alright, so look at this, right? It's called call and response. So right here, we have a 32 note roll. Rest right after it. The snare hit, right? So it pulls you into it. So the rolls are pulling you into the hit. So that's pulling you into it. Then when you layer in the straight hats, gives you that. And the snare. Nice and reverb snare. And then the 808. Got that nice little pitch bend in there. I'm honestly not a fan of the obnoxious 2-octave pitch bend glide. I know some people like that, and it's signature to some people's style, but I'm not too big of a fan on it. But also another thing, without really take away, having good drum samples. Like, listen to this kick. It's nice and beefy. You know what I'm saying? Filling up that space. The snare, nice and reverb. So good drum samples. Like, listen to that. Like, you can really play with the hi-hats. Like, if you got a reverb, like delayed hi-hat, like you can do so much drum work. So I know some people, you go on like, say, freaking, what is it? Like Drum Broker. And you like go to drum kits or whatnot. Let's see where they at. Drum kits. And you go in here and like you see some of them are $30. So if you're like, a young producer and just starting out, you don't really have your library built up, go on freedrumkits.net. Get you some free kits. Let's see, drum kits. Like, this is where I started from, like, when I didn't have the money to buy drum kits, because they got free ones on here. So, look, they got the Zaytoven, Young Chop, XXXTentacion. So, probably anybody you could think of is going to be on here. They even got an Alchemist drum kit. So, go through here. You see something you like, grab it, play with it. You need some good drum samples to get you started. So, good drum samples, picking good samples to chop, doing some work to the sample to make it, sound like your own, and having a good drum pattern is going to be key to achieving this laid back vibe. So that's what we got for today, and we'll cover more of like picking samples and drum samples and all that when I start the producer beginner series. So thanks for watching, and this is Matthias. I'll catch you on the next one.